Unspoken issues.
All right, let's go ahead and get into our seventh story here. Just on the edge of wrapping things up here for the 1993 holiday special. This one's going to be a short story, so I'm going to pad it out a little bit here with some notes about the creative team. Now, this next story is called Holiday on Ice, written by Sholly Fisch, art by Tom Morgan, lettered by Brad Joyce, and colored by Ed Lazzolari. Let's talk about Sholly Fisch first. Sholly Fisch's career in comics spans from the late 1980s through the 2020s. You can see a lot of work in there for both Marvel and DC, but there's a lot of focus on like humor and tie-in comics and young reader titles. Fisch began his career in 1987 at Marvel Comics, writing the Spider-Man story Clobberin' Time in Marvel Tales, starring Spider-Man number 198. His initial years involved writing various short features for Marvel characters, including Iron Man, Captain America, and She-Hulk. During this period, Fisch frequently contributed to humor and satire titles, mainly Marvel's What The series, penning such stories as Goon Knight and The Grinch Who Swiped Hanukkah, The Malted Falcon, and To Save Me, Why Must I Kill Me in 1993. Notably, he also wrote stories for the mature horror audience, contributing to Clive Barker's Hellraiser series between 1989 and 1992 with stories like Dead Man's Hand and Publish or Perish. In 94, he begins shifting his writing for DC Comics. Although he did continue to write for Marvel intermittently, his work at DC quickly diversified into licensed and all-ages material based on popular cartoons and animated series. A major part of his career involves writing for DC's tie-in titles based on animated properties like Looney Tunes, beginning in 2001, Cartoons and Cartoon Network Block Party from 2001 to 2006, Powerpuff Girls, Teen Titans Go, Scooby-Doo from 2004 up to present. He contributed heavily to Scooby-Doo Where Are You and the highly prolific Scooby-Doo Team-Up digital series, which started in 2013 and featured team-ups like Man-Bat and Robin. Fisch has also worked on core DC superhero characters, often contributing backup or all-ages stories for Batman and Batman Chronicles number 8, and the Batman the Brave and the Bold series from 2010 to 2012. He contributed extensively to the Super Friends series from 2008 to 2010, writing a total of 22 stories. He also had done several stories for Action Comics between 2011 and 2014. His more recent work continues with Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries from 2021 to 2024, writing numerous chapters such as A Few Good Batmen and Rats All, folks. So it's interesting we get a story here that's a typical superhero story. Not a lot of humor from Sholly Fisch at this point in time. Let's talk a little bit about Tom Morgan. So Tom Morgan has worked as a penciler and inker or artist for Marvel Comics throughout the late 1980s and 1990s, with a significant transition into DC Comics later on. Morgan began his recorded career at Marvel Comics in 1985, serving as a penciler on Dazzler number 37 and Amazing Spider-Man number 274. Morgan worked extensively on some of Marvel's most famous characters. He served as a penciler on multiple issues of Captain America in 1987, including stories like Night Shift, The Choice, and Basic Training. He also penciled several Spider-Man stories in 1985 and 1987, such as Nothing to Fear and The Hobgoblin Revealed. He contributed to numerous team and annual books, including penciling West Coast Avengers, Fantastic Four Annual number 22, and Alpha Flight in the early 90s. Morgan also frequently served as inker or artist on titles such as Thundercats in 1985, Transformers in 86, Thor in 88, and various short features in Marvel Comics Presents between 89 and 90. Morgan handled multiple licensed properties, including the 4-issue War series, and the Star Trek titles later in the decade, such as Star Trek Unlimited between 97 and 98, and Star Trek Deep Space Nine in 97. A major focus in the early 90s was the future set Punisher 2099 series, where he penciled 13 consecutive issues from Punisher 2099 number 1 through Punisher 2099 number 18, and later Punisher 2099 number 25. He worked heavily on Iron Man in the mid-90s, so this art style may feel familiar for Iron Man fans during that time. He served as artist or penciler for numerous issues from 1994 to 1995, so this might be one of his earlier renditions of Iron Man. Well, it looks like he did an issue of Iron Man back in the 80s, 1986, Iron Man number 214. That was his earliest rendition of Iron Man, well before this holiday special. In the mid-90s, Morgan begins working for DC Comics on core superhero titles. Mostly as penciler, he's doing Extreme Justice. He also does some Superman titles, such as Action Comics in 96, Adventures of Superman in 99. Some Batman titles, too. Detective Comics, Batman and Superman, World's Finest in 99. His DC work also included penciling The Flash, Secret Files number 2 in 99, and the unique title Mixes Pitlick number 1 in 1997. According to Mike's Amazing World, his last comic that he worked on was Batman and Superman World's Finest number 10 in December of 99. Now, let's talk a little bit about the story itself. Holiday on Ice. The story follows Randy Macklin, an ex-con struggling to go straight during the holiday season. After weeks of failed job searches and mounting frustration, he discovers the spare Blizzard costume left with him by a friend who ended up in prison. Feeling beaten down by the world and convinced he has nothing left to lose, Randy suits up and targets the man he blames for his friend's downfall, Iron Man. Meanwhile, Tony Stark is hosting a lively holiday party at Stark Enterprises, unaware that the new Blizzard is outside calling him out in the middle of an unexpected Los Angeles snowstorm. Randy attacks Iron Man with freezing blasts that nearly incapacitate the hero, but Tony ultimately outmaneuvers him, breaking free from the ice and ending the fight decisively. As Randy collapses under the weight of defeat and his own hopelessness, Iron Man listens to his struggles instead of writing him off. In a moment of holiday compassion, Tony offers him a second chance, possibly even a job at Stark Enterprises, reminding Randy that redemption is possible. The story closes with Iron Man helping the fallen would-be villain to his feet and walking with him toward a more hopeful path. I'll get my thoughts out on the story. Randy Macklin comes off as a bit of a simple-minded, almost caricature, dumb crook. Let's see if he has any other appearances. I'm really curious, actually. He does, it appears. Nope. He has none. He has one appearance. This is the only time that Randall Macklin will show up. And with Randy, it's hard to fully root for him. I have some sympathy for someone genuinely trying to go straight and being punished for past mistakes. Sometimes you can't help but feel for him as well. His frustration about not finding work feels very real, especially during the holidays when jobs slow down. At that point, desperation's driving bad choices. That's true in both fiction and in real life. Iron Man makes a choice to help Randy here, and his decision not to be judgmental but instead extend mercy, that fits perfectly with the holiday theme. His offer of a second chance feels heartfelt rather than forced. This theme of second chances strongly resonates here in this story. The story leans into forgiveness, the idea of mending things during the holidays, but it also highlights how difficult it can be for ex-cons to break free from old patterns. It also shows why opportunities to those people matter. Again, during this holiday setting, that kind of enhances this message of redemption. And as the ending happens, Tony walking off with Randy instead of handing him over to the police, that lands as a genuine holiday moment, in my opinion. Even without deep knowledge of 90s Iron Man continuity, nothing really feels out of character for Iron Man, Tony Stark. And I think that him offering help instead of punishment lines up with his persona. As far as the action goes in the comic, it's pretty standard superhero material. Randy freezes Iron Man. Iron Man breaks free. One punch ends it. It looks cool visually, but the focus is the story here. The pacing of the story, you got 8 pages. I mean, there's no real unnecessary details. It gets from setup to conflict to resolution pretty efficiently. The things that kind of stick with me here after reading this 8-pager, I mean, it's not the fight. Really, it's more about Tony's kindness. You know, it's his acknowledgement that second chances work. He points to Hawkeye at the end of this thing, and that really drives the point home. So the overall takeaway, everyone is deserving of a second chance. Now, where am I going to place this one? You know, we've got 1 through 8 here. I would probably say this is going to be in the bottom 4, maybe even in the bottom 2. There's not a whole lot that happens here. It's not a horrible story. It's just, you know, guy makes a bad decision because he's down on his luck, and then luckily Tony Stark has been blessed with the holiday spirit.